What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 72, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name's Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-host, Roffle and Corbett. How are you guys doing tonight?
It's been a difficult couple of weeks playing a wild Hearthstone. I was streaming about an hour and a half today, and I hit 60% Pirate Warriors, so next week cannot come soon enough, or I guess by the time this drops this week, cannot come soon enough. So looking forward to Tuesday when we get some new cards and hopefully a brief break from some of the decks that we've come to know and love from United and Stormwind.
Love.
Yeah, my tech issues basically have been an absolute blessing, I think. Where I haven't actually streamed for 2 weeks. I just started back again a couple days ago, and I feel pretty good. Like I feel great about the upcoming expansion. I feel refreshed. I dove back into Wild yesterday with some Parrot Mage, which was very cool. But even more excited to talk about all the new stuff that's coming out and just around the corner.
Yeah, I actually had a pretty good week when it came to Hearthstone, but I also didn't play very much Hearthstone, which is maybe why. So we had Thanksgiving, so I took a couple days off, but then we had that tournament that I hosted in conjunction with Community Gaming. I had Martian and Corbett help me cast that, which was like super hype. It was a ton of fun. And so I don't want to say spoiler alerts, but it's been a week, right? So Lasagna won the tournament, so big congrats to him. And it was a ton of fun. And then we got all the cards revealed, and then I just went off theory crafting for a couple of days. So I didn't really play any Hearthstone. But then I played yesterday, and I queued into the same person. I played 13 games of Wild, and I was in Legend. And out of my 13 games, 11 of them were against the same person. And I was I thought this was fixed. But I was insta-queuing into the same person over and over again. And so like you guys, I think I am very done with Wild until this expansion comes out, and it cannot come out soon enough. But yeah, we're going to be talking a lot today. We've got some cards that we're going to talk about. We did skip last week thanks to Thanksgiving. So we got a lot to catch up on. Plus we got some predictions about, all of the cards that we're going to look back on in 2 months and laugh at ourselves for how dumb we were for not seeing the most obviously broken card that we didn't talk about. What are our quests going to be this time, right? But before we get into all of that, we do need to take care of some housekeeping stuff. So first things first, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, whether you guys are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of good stuff, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's a small thing, but it does actually support us a ton.
You can also support the podcast by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/stateofwild and pick up some sweet perks in the process.
And lastly, you can always come join the State of the Wild Discord server to come talk about all things Wild Hearthstone with the members of this community.
Yep. And one last thing, we're gonna shake up our normal, sellouts here. One last thing, we were provided some codes from Blizzard to help give away or to give away to the community as part of the new expansion. So it's free to enter, really really easy. There's gonna be a link both in the pinned comments and down in the description. All you have to do is fill out that form. It's going to take you 15 seconds, and you guys are going to be entered to win the giveaway for the, I believe they're standard bundles, right? So these are 60 cards, 2 random legendaries, and a card back. Again, these are provided by Blizzard. But yeah, free giveaways, free stuff. Thanks again, Blizzard, for supporting us. Appreciate it. Okay. You guys ready to talk some cards?
I'm ready.
Yep. All right. So I believe as the three of us, we have covered about 45, 46 of the cards. We are not going to cover the last 89, 90 cards. We're just not going to do that, okay? For everybody's sake. So basically what we've done is we've gone through and we've kind of picked some highlights, what we think are potentially wild playable cards or maybe some exciting cards to talk about. And so let's just go class by class. Let's start off with Demon Hunter here. So kind of the big note that we haven't talked about already is Curtis, right? He's Kurtrus. I'm going to call him Curtis. You guys are just going to have to get over it. He is the first.
Curtis.
It is Curtis, right? He is the first hero card for Demon Hunter. He is a 6-mana legendary hero. Battle Cry, summon 2 1/4 demons with Rush. These get improved by your hero's attacks this game. So basically, every time you have attacked with your hero, the demons that you summon will get 1 more attack, right? So you can summon 2 4s, 3 4s, 4 4s, etc. And his hero power. So his hero power is where we get excited, right? So it's a 1 mana hero power. It is Demon Hunter, right? +2 attack this turn, so it turns into an odd Demon Hunter hero power. After a friendly minion attacks, refresh this. So some combo potential there. Also just kind of, just in general, some pretty obscene amounts of damage potential, even if you're not going a pure combo route. So for the first Demon Hunter hero card, how are you guys feeling about it?
I mean, at 6 mana, it does some things, right? Like, even just off the rip, it's a reasonable card at 6 mana. I think that it has some potential in Token Demon Hunter, which got a whole lot of support this expansion. Like, my one concern is that it is an even cost card,
Yeah.
and like you're paying 6 mana to basically get to what you start the game as, if you're just an odd Demon Hunter. So, is refreshing worth missing 5 turns of already having that hero power? I guess that's my consideration. The fact that the minions that you do summon immediately have rush is relevant, though, because that like has an immediate impact. So like that's a good thing for a hero card. You want to do something immediately, but like in wild, the rate of play right now isn't terribly kind to 6 mana cards. So unless things slow down a little bit, and even just generally in wild, like again, the 6 mana cost is kind of a curse. Anything that costs an even number, you kind of have to give a side eye to and make sure it's worth. And this card's close, but I don't know.
I'm gonna hop in here real quick. So you just commented. I mean, why do we play the Hunter quest when we could just have the Odd Hunter hero power from the very beginning? Like how powerful is refreshing? I'm just messing with you.
I know.
There's some synergy there with Deadeye, right? I think we should talk about. So there's a Demon Hunter dual class card called Felfire Deadeye, I believe, that makes your hero power cost 1 less. So I know there's some obvious combo there with a 0 meta hero power. If you can play some of those cards that Demon Hunter has with those 1/1 rushers to reset your hero power, this can get to like +20 attack in 1 turn. This is Magical Christmas Land, but I mean, this is just some of the potential you can do with Curtis. All right, sorry to jump in there before you go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you go, Roffle.
I was done. Like I said, I think this card is close. I just don't know that like the even cost is going to be something that you can tolerate.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? I don't know. 6 mana is a lot of mana. We did get some nice payoffs for it and stuff, so it doesn't feel quite as bad sort of building around this with the, the Urzul Giant, and things like that. But yeah, it's just not consistently enough going to be a hard OTK by like turn 7, 8, which is ultra late game. So I think it's a lot too slow.
All right.
Cool direction though, and I'm happy they're revisiting Token after kind of like, I wasn't quite sure what they were going to do with the Death Knight hero power, or hero card hero power and stuff. So
Death Knight has gone in a lot of directions lately, and it's like good to find maybe some recentering this expansion with like some big demons and token stuff that like was sort of included in the initial set, but not really well enough supported to like be a thing. So it's almost like Demon Hunter is regaining its class identity, which it abandoned for a while when it went the Death Rattle thing. So also the multiple attacks is another Demon Hunter thing. So like you're kind of seeing both of those in a single card, and I'm into it. I think it's a cool card, and I'm excited for Demon Hunter in general this expansion. I just don't know that it will be still that powerful.
Yeah, so plenty of big demons and maybe some little tiny demons for Demon Hunter this expansion. All right, so we're gonna skip Druids because all the exciting Druid cards we've already talked about. So no real need for us to rehash that. So we're gonna hop ahead to Hunter here, and so let's talk about it. We're just gonna go directly into the next hero card. Let's talk about Beaststalker Tavish. So this is the Hunter hero card, 6 mana. Battle Cry, discover and cast 2 improved secrets. So improved secrets are exactly what they sound like. They are better versions of the base secrets. So we did get a little bit of unfortunate / bad news, which kind of sucked, where the improved secrets are only going to be secrets that are standard legal. So they're not going to go back to all of the wild exclusive Hunter secrets, and they're not going to make improved versions of those. And so right now, all we have is improved Freezing Trap, improved Explosive Trap. improved Snake Trap, improved Pack Tactics, improved Open the Cages, and a little bit of a spoiler alert here, improved Ice Trap, which is the new Hunter spell here. So Explosive Trap is going to deal 3 damage instead of 2. Freezing Trap is going to make it cost 4 more when it returns to hand instead of 2. Snake Trap is going to summon 2/2s instead of 1/1s. Pack Tactics is going to summon 2 3/3s instead of 1. Open the Cage is going to summon 2 Animal Companions. And then Ice Trap is going to make it cost 2 more compared to just, I believe, 1 more for Ice Trap. And then, all of that being said, we get around to the Hero Power. So the Hero Power, I think is pretty strong, if not just a little bit underwhelming. It is 3 mana, summon a random Animal Companion. So these are the 3 that you guys know and love. Huffer, Leok, Misha. I believe you do not get to choose. It is one of the random 3, just like the 3 mana spell. But if you're a good player, it's always Huffer anyway, so it doesn't matter. Alright, Beastalker, Tavish, how are you guys feeling?
Well, I'm actually going to push back a little bit on like it being a downside that they're not including wild secrets. There are quite a few bad wild secrets, and anytime we're talking about like a pool of cards that we're discovering from, generating from, the wide range of cards available to you in wild actually makes those types of effects more inconsistent and therefore worse. So you have a little bit more like expectation for what you're going to get as a result of it being a smaller card pool here. Now that said, there are some very good, wild specific secrets. In particular, Wandering Monster is a big miss for this card, and that would, an improved Wandering Monster could potentially be fantastic. I'm not sure exactly how they would do that. It would probably be a higher mana cost card, not 2 3 mana cards. That would be outrageous. Or even like Cat Trick would, maybe be nice. Pressure Plate, those types of things. But that said, like the narrow range does make this maybe a little bit more appealing. My concern is where it fits. It's probably, I don't know. Is this just like better than Rexar in a like secret Reno Hunter? I think it comes close to making the cut in, Even Hunter. It's better than Rexar in Even Hunter for sure. The problem is like you really want that 1 mana hero power to keep blasting towards the end of the game, but like things do go late. It's not. I mean, getting an Animal Companion every turn is pretty sweet. I think it's an okay card. I don't know if it's quite at the power level that it's going to see play in Wild, just because. Other than in a Reno deck, I don't know that you want to be paying 3 mana for your hero power, even if that is basically every turn play an Animal Companion, which is pretty good. Like you're not paying a card for an Animal Companion. That's a good hero power. It's basically like a life tap, guarantee that you don't take damage, but you guarantee that you draw an Animal Companion and then play it. Wow. Yeah. No, that's outrageous. But I don't know if that like it's kind of a value-based hero power, right? I don't know if that's going to do the trick in our format. That said, I'm very much looking forward to this card.
Yeah, me too. I really, really like Tavish. With the reduced pool of cards, it is kind of funny that we've had Rexar before, which is they ended up caving and said that they were going to keep adding it to the pool, and this time they've said that no, we're just going to have it's just these. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see if the complaints are loud enough. But the pool of secrets that we have now is actually very necessarily diverse, right? Because we do have the Ice Trap, we now have ways to interact with spells, we have ways to deny the opponent going phase, we have like ways to make it awkward for them to trade. And it just means that you can very consistently get sort of something that directly impacts the opponent's game plan. And I think Tavish is going to be very, 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 very flexible and just feel satisfying in a lot of situations to play out. Again, the fit. It's always about the fit. I think it can fit in, Secret Hunter. I think Secret Hunter got a really, bunch of support this expansion, and I'm excited to try that. I think Secret Hunter's good. I think Reno Hunter prefers this over Rexar, and it's not close. As for Even Hunter, I'm going to assume no, but I think the door's a little bit open on that, because, Huffer is 4 damage, and, normal Hunter hero power is only 2, so just be good.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should just go ahead and talk about Ice Trap in conjunction with this, because we kind of are talking a little bit of overlap. So Ice Trap is the new Hunter secret. It is a frost spell, if that matters for your multicasters in Hunter for some reason. But the most important part is when your opponent casts a spell, return it to their hand instead. It costs 1 more. So this is kind of like counterspell, sort of, right? It is the Hunter version of counterspell, just like Oh My God is the Paladin version of counterspell. It's a lot of tempo is the big thing, right? It's a huge amount of tempo. And so we're talking about Beastalker, Tavish, and we're talking about Ice Trap. I do think we haven't really talked enough about just Secret Hunter, because I think we're kind of sleeping a little bit on like Drekthar's impact in Secret Hunter. Like, it is so good in that deck. For those of you guys that don't know, basically you're running 2 Cloaked Huntresses, and you're running Drekthar, and then if you want to get really cute, you can run Injured Blade Masters as like your kind of Omega high rolls off of it, getting some 4/7s off of your 4-drop. Pretty good. And that deck has actually been, I don't know, I've been playing a little bit, and it's been very good, and it's getting a lot of powerful tools here. We're talking about Ice Trap. I think you definitely run Tavish in that deck. You probably are running Spring the Trap in that deck as well. So the new 4-mana deal 3, cast a secret from your deck, and then if you honorable kill, you get 2. I really like Ice Trap in Even Hunter. So like, even if we're not running Tavish in Even Hunter, I really like Ice Trap for the tempo in Even Hunter itself. And yeah, I mean, I think I know there's a lot of Reno Hunter players out there. All right, even if you guys don't listen, I know there are a ton of you out there, and so you can share this message with them. God, they're getting so many tools, right, for Reno Secret Hunter, because Tavish, Ice Trap, Spring the Trap, the Bunker. Even if you want to go like a big beast build, you got a lot of tools for that as well. So I like the direction for Hunter here, and I think the best part is that none of them go into Odd Hunter, which is like the best, right?
Right. No, that's actually a great point, because we've talked a lot about how like Odd Hunter is a few cards away from being really scary, and it got nothing. So good. And I think the Ice Trap, I think Ice Trap is going to be like a high tier Hunter secret, like especially as you mentioned in Even Hunter, where like maybe just buying a turn is all it needs to do, because you're just trying to kill him.
I was gonna say my one concern about that is just how spell centric the secret package can become, because you are already running Cat Trick, and against things like Pirate Warrior, like or a lot of other board based decks, that can get a little bit awkward. But you're right, it is a very high tempo secret, and maybe just further leaning into that is good. It's probably a little bit more flexible than something like Pressure Plate, which players have been using, which is very powerful when it's good, but can be very awkward when it's not good.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring up the idea of like, do you ever just like replace Cat Tricks with this? Like, I know something in the 4-2 is powerful, but
damage, 4 damage.
I don't know. Cat Tricks don't feel so like they do anything with the Druid plays token summons.
4 damage.
It'll be interesting to see how we kind of revise the Even Hunter list, like you mentioned, because I think Even Hunter itself is also getting a lot of tools outside of just Ice Trap, so we're gonna have to kind of
just run Ice Trap, Cat Trick, and Pressure Plate. Just run it all. No spells allowed.
And then just never queue in a Pirate Warrior. That's the plan.
I think if you're making a decision to cut one of the spell-based ones, you're cutting Pressure Plate in favor of Ice Trap. I don't think you want to lose the Cat Trick. I think that's just. I mean, this is my personal bias, but like I think it's just very good in Even Hunter, and I think you just want that.
Yeah, you're probably right. So basically, what we're saying here, by the way, we talked a whole bunch about these Hunter archetypes that are getting buffed, but we specifically focus on Even Hunter because, by the way, guys, the deck is still pretty good, even if nobody's playing it. So you guys should definitely check it out once the expansion drops. All right, let's head on into to Mage here. So we haven't talked a lot about Mage because they just didn't reveal a whole bunch of cards until the one day that they just dumped all of them. So let's talk a lot. We finally have a good one drop for Mage. It's been years, literally years, since Mana Worm got nerfed, and we haven't had a good one drop since. And now we have Shivering Sork. This is a 1-mana 2/2 in Mage. Battle Cry, reduce the cost of the highest cost spell in your hand by 1. It's just, first of all, can we talk about how it's just like casually everything's just like a 1-mana 2/2 now with upside? By the way, that's kind of insane. But
yeah, think about Enchanted Raven. Like, that was a big deal when it was first printed, and that had no effect. It was just the Beast Egg.
Yeah, exactly. But this has pretty insane upside, right? So reduce the cost with the highest cost spell in your hand by 1. So I think what they're going here is they have this whole big spell vibe for Mage. This expansion, okay? you don't have to discount big spells with this. Even if just hitting like your Enchantress Flow or a Secret in Secret Mage, or I don't know if you're playing LPG Mage and getting a Fire Sale to 3 mana. I don't know. Discounting is nuts. 1 mana 2/2 is nuts. I think this card is just really, really good.
Yeah, something that like I think is overlooked is that until exactly rigged fair game was printed, Cabal Lackey was a trash tier 1 drop in Secret Mage. Like it just kind of died. Like there were times where it just like was not was not a keep. Like it's not a good card. You just end up dumping hand and then like don't really develop all that much. Where it becomes good is when it's refilling your hand with a rigged fair game. So like I think that Shivering Sorceress is just a second good turn 1 play for Secret Mage, which hasn't gotten a lot of support recently. And we complained about it when it existed, but I always breathe a sigh of relief when I queue into Secret Mage now. So I'm okay with it getting support. Sure. Should reduce the cost of those secrets. I don't care.
Yeah, I can see some very powerful openers potentially with this, unless like this and then coin out an Ancient Mysteries or something. It's like almost the Cabal Lackey. So yeah, like it's a really good card, I think, in a lot of different mage decks. Will it go into the APM type decks? I don't think so. Like anything running Springwater, probably not. But anything that's not looking at directly Springwater, I think it'll find a home. Just really, really good card.
Yep, shove it in your Arena Mage decks too. Those of you guys that are still playing that archetype for sure. All right, next up I want to talk about Amplified Snow Flurry. So this is a 2 mana 2/3 elemental. Battle Cry, your next hero power costs 0 and freezes the target. Important to note here, it is an elemental if that matters to you, but more importantly, it does not say this turn. So you can bank that 0 mana hero power, very similar to Tour Guide. So obviously, even Mage, right? This is an even cost card that cares about your hero power. But also, I think just like a solid card in Reno decks in general, as just a way to help control the board or freeze a Pirate Warrior's face. And as a 2 mana 2/3, it's not like a terrible body as well.
Yeah, I think that you just run this card over Ice Walker because like you need Ice Walker to stick in even Mage, and like that aspect of it. Yes, it's a persistent effect and has the potential to last longer, but it doesn't. So like I think it's just a better version of that, to the point where you're just okay running this in Arena Mage. It's like Tour Guide with a freeze effect, so like seems okay to me.
So busted. It's so busted. I don't know. It's kind of awkward though, right? Because there just isn't the quiet home for it. Like I'd almost be thinking about playing this in Secret Mage, but not quite. Like this is not enough slots really in that deck right now. But my god, this is just absurd. Like insanely good card.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some of the cards that are supporting the Mage kind of archetype this expansion. So let's talk about some of these big spell support cards. So let's start with some of those big spells. Let's start with Mass Polymorph. So this is a 7 mana arcane spell. Transform all minions into 1/1 sheep. So this is kind of the option off the Kazakus potion, right? I do wonder, are these unique sheep from the Polymorph and the sheep in trousers from the Kazakus potions? And this is an important question if Big Priest ever comes back.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. I will welcome, just like Secret Mage, I will welcome Big Priest coming back. This is the card that we needed when Big Priest was reigning from on high, and it's one that I've been predicting for a while. I just don't know that now is a relevant time for it, is my concern. Cool card. I really love the art. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I don't like the timing is like, imagine this when like Q Block and Big Priest were battling it out. Yeah. Would have been so good, but oh well.
Yeah. Sadly, it seems kind of bad. Sorry.
Yikes. This is a card that I wish existed when like last summer, where it was like LPG Mage was like the best it's been in a long time, except for the fact that it couldn't beat Darkglare Warlock, right? And like this would have been a really nice card to cheat into play to maybe help against the Darkglare Warlocks. Like I felt like we're a little bit late, like you guys mentioned, on this card. It would have been really, really good in Wild a year and a half ago. And nowadays it's 7 mana and we're talking about Arena Mage. Like I just don't
Yeah.
know where this is going to see any play. But it's nice for it to
Yeah, I was,
have like eventually, like if Rena Mages ever come back, this will be a really really nice tool for the arsenal.
yeah, I was thinking in like before the Dark Lair, right? Like the Q block days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have done a lot, I think. But I don't know, 7 mana, big minion format. I mean, some classes like Paladin are gonna have to do a lot of work here to make big, big AOE polymorph transform effects make that relevant. But we'll see.
All right, let's talk about the other big spell here. Let's talk about new and improved puzzle box. Let's talk about Rune of the Archmage, 9 mana spell, cast 20 mana worth of mage spells at enemies. So basically, what this reads is 9 mana, cast 2 puzzle boxes of Yogg-Saron. Roffle, take it away.
Just play this card. I don't care how you do it, when you do it. Just play it as many times as you can, over as many games as you can, and get as many puzzle boxes as you can out of it. This card is beautiful. The only thing that I'm a little bit sad about, though, is that it does not have a spell school because of its ties to some of the other cards that we haven't talked about yet, in particular Dawn Grasp. But I don't know. I like random. I like big numbers. This has both of those things. So I'm big spell mage is one of the archetypes I'm most excited for. I don't have a lot of hopes in terms of its competitive viability, but the meme potential is just like off the charts. So this plus Iceblood Tower are some of the cards that I'm just looking to cast over and over again, and then die.
Yeah, I mean, very very fun, absurd stuff, and we'll have to wait and see because like we have gotten these Dragoncaster effects before. I wonder if that's something that they're all, they might try and shy away from it after we experience the Dragoncaster puzzle box meta in standard. So I'm not sure how soon they want to give big blatant mana cheating to Mage. But I don't know. They've lent very heavily into this archetype. And I wouldn't be shocked if it surprises people a little bit in standard, and I'm sure it'll be very, very fun and do a whole bunch of insane things in wild. I mean, that tower's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, in standard they have Clumsy Courier, right? The 7 mana cast the highest cost card from your hand. The one that I was super hype on until I actually like read the card. Yeah. Let's not relive that. Let's talk about Magister Dawngrasp. It is 8 mana rather. Battle Cry. Recast a spell from each spell school you've cast this game. Okay. So basically, if you recast a fire spell, a frost spell, an arcane spell, a shadow spell, I believe those are the 4 main ones in Mage. I know I was really looking at this in Arena Mage Shell, just specifically as a way to like recast Ice Block if you need to. Can recast Puzzle Box. Puzzle Box is a shadow spell. You got some pretty good fire spells. You've got Flame Ward, you've got Fire Sail, you have Flame Strike. And then arcane spells, you have like Mass Polymorph. So you can use that as like a 7 or 8 mana, wipe the board, cast an Ice Block, that sort of thing. I'm not sold on it, but it still looks like it could have some potential, right? If you could abuse that Battle Cry, because I feel like that's what you're using it for. Because the hero power personally doesn't seem super interesting, but maybe you can do something with it. It's a 2 mana hero power, deal 1 damage. So normal mage hero power. But if you honorable kill with the hero power, it gains +2 damage permanently. So then it becomes 2 mana deal 3, and then if you get honorable kill, then it becomes 2 mana deal 5. So yeah, Magister Dawngrasp. How are we feeling about the Mage hero card here?
I'm with you. If you're playing this card, it's for the Battle Cry. The hero power is kind of incidental. It's a little too reminiscent of Frostlich Jaina, which hasn't seen a lot of play lately, just because like generating slow value is not what our format is currently allowing for. So that's what Arcane Burst does. And I don't know that like our format allows that right now, but like I don't know. I'm looking at this card in again a big spell mage where like I just want to get as big numbers and big random, and that's what I'm gonna do with this. So yeah, Puzzle Box being a shadow spell, count me in. I'm casting as many of those as possible and figure the rest out as I get there. There's also the Deep Freeze as a potential for your frost spell. if you want to run a little bit more top end than Ice Block. But yeah, you've got a lot of potential with this in the Battle Cry. Again, 8 mana, maybe not necessarily super competitively viable, but like probably if you're running a hero card in Reno Mage, like this is maybe the one that you're looking at. I don't know that Reno or Jaina is really going to be better than this in terms of survivability. I think that in Reno Mage in particular, recasting an Ice Block can be pretty invaluable.
And we do have one last mage card to talk about. Like I said, they dumped all the mage cards on us at one time. Yeah, so let's talk about Belinda Stonehearth, 6 mana, 5/5, Battle Cry, draw 2 spells, swap their cost with this minion's stats. So basically, it reads 6 mana, draw 2 of your big spells, and then make them cost 5 mana. There's some cute things that you can do with Belinda if you like Potion of Illusion her, because then you play a 1/1 Belinda that draws 2 of your big spells, and then they cost 1 mana. So you can do some pretty cheesy stuff with that. And so again, I feel like she definitely fits in that Reno big spell mage, or maybe just like your pure big spell mage. Honestly, even if you're just playing big spell mage with like double puzzle box, double tower, double Rune of the Archmage, because then you just get to play them for 5. But yeah, not personally not the most exciting, but I think she does have a ton of potential.
I mean, draw 2 for 6 mana 5/5 is already very good. Then when you're reducing the cost of something, it's like it's a better version of Naga Sandwich, right? Like,
I mean, that's not a very high bar though. Naga Sandwich
no,
is not
it's
a very good
no,
card.
it's not. But like, I think this is the best like big spell cheat that you have available to you right now, because it's putting them into hand and immediately reducing their cost. Like, maybe that's a little bit ambitious in Wild, but like, I don't know. I'm okay with this. I don't expect this card to be good, but like what it does is what the big spell archetype wants for you to do. If like there are a lot of things that have potential payoffs for like casting something of 5 or more. So like if you're looking at I don't know, if you decide you
The
want to run
weapon,
Dragon,
or
yeah,
the
the
weapon,
weapon.
Arcane Tyrant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you're brave enough to run Alana in your deck, like the 5 is an important number. So no, I think this card is really sweet and like is the thing that big spell mage kind of wanted, but like at 6 mana, I don't know that it alone is powerful enough. Again, the cute things with Potion of Illusion are pretty fun, but those are like that's a little ambitious. I think that like just what it does, drawing 2 for 6 mana, like everybody was high on Papa Rome, and like this card is essentially the same thing, but like more immediate impact, I think. So like, yeah, get to brand this as well.
Roffle, I was right there with you until you mentioned Rome, and now I'm forced to give this card 1 star. I'm sorry.
To be clear, I do not think that Big Spell Mage is going to be competitively viable. I think this is the thing that like the deck wants in order to like actually play the game. Because like a lot of times what happens is you just get stuck with all these big spells in hand that you can't cast, and this kind of helps solve that problem. So
Let's move on. Let's move on to Paladin. Speaking of Rome, right? So we've already talked about the Paladin hero card, but let's talk about a couple of more spicy ones. Let's talk about Brasswing. So this is an 8 mana 9/7 dragon. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all enemies. So that's all enemy minions and the opponent's hero. Honorable kill. So when you're dealing 2, if you kill any of them, specific health, you get to restore 4 health to your hero. So basically like a Baron Geddon effect that heals you. I mean, I think the card is just really, 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 really good in big Paladin decks. So like if you're playing big Paladin, you should be running 2 of the Brasswings. I guess my question is to you guys, do you think that this is ever good enough for like just plain old Reno Paladin? I know it's a second dragon for like Nozdormu, but so like you don't specifically tutor that. You guys don't think so?
no, I think that where this fits, if it fits, is in a big Paladin, which we talked about last time, did get a bit of support with Templar Captain, and like has seen some success because it gets online quickly with duel, and like can swing boards enough to be relevant in with the speed of the current metagame. So I think this is maybe one to look out for. It's like you pair this with the Templar Captain, some Scrapyard Colossuses, and like you can set up some good defense and really punish some Pirate Warriors. So I think it has potential.
Where was this card when Dragon Consort was in Standard? Where was it when Cathedral Gargoyle was in Standard?
Those
I
those aren't real cards. This would still wouldn't have existed then.
Oh, dude, I remember being so high on that dragon taunted mini bot, and I thought it was gonna be the nuts, and then they just didn't give Paladin a dragon for like 2 years. It was very strange. But as for this one, yeah, I mean, I don't think you played in like anything other than Big Paladin. I'm not even 100% sure you played a Big Paladin. I mean, it is obviously incredibly good into the aggro board-based stuff, and Wild in general, the aggressive decks are pushing more and more to be wide, flood, vomit, board-based stuff. Whether it's Cute Lock, Pirate Warrior, it's just like a general trend, right? You need to throw more stats at the board ASAP to win in this format. And so, yeah, I think it's the type of effect that, is pretty suited to where we're headed. It'll just be a matter of how much Pirate Warrior and Cute Lock and things like that. But yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah. I will say, just that reminds me, or brings it up, but like I think we're definitely pushing wide because of Odd Hunter, and so if Odd Hunter ever gets addressed / changed, then maybe we go back to a format where Brasswing gets cut from Big Paladin. But I think right now, like you mentioned, as we're currently headed, I think we do like at least I like the double Brasswings in that Big Paladin deck. All right, let's one last Paladin card here to talk about. Let's talk about Stonehearth Vindicators. This is a 3-mana 3/1 battle cry. Draw a spell that costs 3 or less. It costs 0 this turn. So the more and more I theorycraft with this card, the more and more I really do love this card. Because you can throw it in a lot of Paladin decks. You can actually tutor it because it has that 1 health. So you can tutor it off of your Soulhead's Pride. And then it draws very specific Paladin spells. If you're in Libram Paladin, you can tutor your Librams or your Crystologies. If you're in Hand Buff Paladin, you can tutor your like Hand of Adults, your Crystologies in Hand Buff Paladin. I don't even know what the 1-mana buff spell is in Hand Buff Paladin. I forgot.
Smuggler's Run?
Yeah, Smuggler's Run. You can tutor that in your Hand Buff Paladin and play it. I'm a little bit sad that it says cost 0 this turn. I feel like it would be pretty busted if it didn't, though. But yeah, the more and more I think about this card, the more excited I am to play with it. How about you guys?
2 things that this card does are pretty universally powerful in card games. Targeted draw, which it does, and reducing something to 0. So I think that kind of says it all about the card. Like the flexibility of that is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's really nice with Noble Mount. That's another one where it becomes like this very annoying 4/2 Divine Shield that summons a thing. So that's pretty good for this 3 cost. Like it's better goody 2 shields. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be slapped in a lot of Paladin decks, and it'll be strong in a lot of Paladin decks. Very excited in particular for Libram. I think Libram's the home that I want to try this with the most.
But Corbett, that's a standard deck. Why are you excited for a standard deck in Wild?
Well, it might have got some new cards from me out that we could touch on.
True. Wait, we've already talked about all these cards.
Oh, we've already talked about Carriel? All right, cut the transition. Damn, I thought I did so well.
Oh, we already talked about Carriel. All right, it's fine. I'm gonna leave it in there just so that we can laugh at Corbett. All right. So let's move into Priest here. Let's talk about the hero card since we didn't get to talk about one for Paladin. Let's talk about Zyrella the Devout. She is 8 mana with the battle cry. Trigger the death rattle of every friendly minion that has died this game. So reverse Shudderwalks, or Shudderwalk for death rattles, or death rattle walk, whatever you want to call it. It
Shudders off.
Shudders off. There you go. Could count on Roffle for that name. So obviously, whenever you have a card like this, it has the potential to be pretty dumb, right? And let's talk about the hero power. So the hero power, when you play her, you're going to get one of 2 hero powers. You're either going to get Holy Touch, which is 2 mana, restore 5 health. So this is targeted 5 health. It can be to a minion or your face or an opponent's face if you want to keep them at a Molten Giant range. Or you get Void Spike. Void Spike is 2 mana, deal 5 damage. Again, targeted deal 5. But probably dealing this to the opponent's face, right? Because that's a Mind Blast on a hero power. And obviously they flip each turn. So if you have Void Spike one turn, you'll have Holy Touch the next, and then back to Void Touch or Void Spike so on, so on, so on. So yeah, I mean, Zyrella the Devout, pretty powerful effect. How you guys feeling?
I love this card. I
I knew you
absolutely
would.
love this card because, well, first of all, obviously it's going in like Weasel Bird Priest, right? Like, so like I get to shuffle more stuff into my opponent's deck. I'm happy about that. I'm already making more death rattles. I don't have to play N'Zoth in that deck anymore because like resummoning those minions is pretty bad because they don't have an immediate impact for 10 mana. This, it serves the same purpose but has a more immediate impact, and the hero powers are pretty nutty. Like in that deck in particular, you're looking to stabilize in the late game, and also eventually you do need to end the game to the point where like Anduin was a legitimate like end game win condition where you just like playing birds hero power, play birds hero power, whittle their life total down. It's kind of just does that but better, and like already has some more inherent synergy with the deck. People do this with every card with the big numbers. They're considering it for Big Priest. Kind of like with the Undying Amulet. I don't know that, like, again, this card pushes that into existence. I think that you still want a very narrow range of minions in your Big Priest that, aside from scrappier classes, don't have Death Rattle. So I don't know that this is necessarily the card that changes that. But like, I don't know. It could be. We've talked about like a more medium Death Rattle Priest, maybe even a Death Rattle Reno Priest could be a thing. But I don't know. Like, I'm just excited for like it's a Death Rattle Shudderwalk. I'm happy about that. Like, I just want to play this card.
Yeah, it's so cool. And the amount of directions that you can take it. Like, I'm sure people are going to try burn version, where they just want to deal 30 damage with the Zyrella. Or they can, play it in that Reno Death Rattle shell that you're talking about, which might be a little bit more akin to what we're seeing in Standard, where people are playing, like, Light Shower Elemental, and, in Wilds, at least we get things like Convincing Infiltrator, and you can probably build, like, a sort of just general control priest, and take in that kind of direction, but I don't know. A very, very cool card. I like that Priest has burn and, late game reach and damage because, like you're saying, that's something that you tend to have to build around whenever you build these types of decks. With like Togwaggle Priest would always play Anduin because you actually do need to kill people at some point. And this is a really nice alternative to that. Much, much, much better for that kind of deck.
Yeah. I am one of those people that has built this as the top end of a Leper Gnome Cobalt Sandtrooper style of deck with Twilight Skull. I'm very excited for this. But also, I have a question for you, Roffle. So in that Weasel Albatross Priest, does this, when it says trigger the Death Rattle, what is the actual Death Rattle on Weasel? Will it shuffle Zyrellas into your opponent's deck, or will it shuffle Weasels?
I can't imagine it shuffling Zyrella into the deck. I meant to ask a dev, but like I didn't mention that because like there was some conversation about this card on Twitter when it was released, and I think that like Weasel, it does say shuffle this card into your opponent's deck, or shuffle this card into your opponent's deck because it
For this minion, it says.
Right.
So.
Okay. So I think because it's not a legal card, I don't even know if it will have an effect.
I don't think it will. I think it'll just like be
So it'll either my assumption is that it either shuffles a copy of a Weasel into their deck, it does nothing. One of those two things is probably the most likely. I think it's very unlikely that it shuffles Zyrella in, but we have seen some weird bugs in the past, so always a possibility. I think it's just an unlikely one. That seems like a big oversight because like Weasels were a very popular thing for a while. I don't like something that stands out as an exception that was like a card that actually existed in players' minds doesn't seem like something that they would overlook. So
yeah, I mean this isn't definitely
this isn't Wretched Tiller. Yeah, this
exactly.
isn't Wretched Tiller. So it's Weasel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's iconic. Yeah.
All right. So let's go from big and flashy with Zyrella to maybe something that didn't really stand out to a lot of people. Let's talk about Gift of the Naru. This is a 1-mana holy spell. Restore 3 health to all characters. So that is friendly minions, enemy minions, friendly face, enemy face. If any are still damaged, draw a card. So this means that if you are at you or your enemy are below 27, this is a guaranteed cantrip, right? Guaranteed to draw a card, at the very least. I think this card is just really, really strong, especially in combination with stuff like Xyrella. But also really, really strong in combination with stuff like Akanai Soul Priest, the 2-mana Akanai card, or Embrace the Shadows if you want to run stuff like Zombie Chow OTK, or whatever that style of deck is. I think this card is very, very flexible, and I think this card is very, 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 very good.
Yeah, it also fits in Inner Fire in a lot of ways, especially with Vivid Nightmare being an possible inclusion in that. I mean, it's just an extraordinarily flexible card. I think you maybe want to run this in Reno Priest too. Just if we ever see like a Razakus Priest come back, like this does what that deck wants. It cycles a card. Miracle Priest absolutely wants this. It's already running like the 0-mana heal your face cards anyway. This just kind of, you're willing to pay the extra mana for this potentially. Even though you have like Radiant Elemental, you have Palm Reading, so you're reducing the cost of your spells anyway. So I think this just does so many things that you want in those types of decks that it's going to find a home somewhere.
Yeah, the one awkward thing with the Embrace the Shadow deck is that you will kill off your Radiant Elementals if that's the play order. So you have to be careful, but yeah, I mean, just busted, right? Just really, really strong. Super strong. It'll just go in a lot of priest decks. So, I mean, I might even play in, like, big priest, right? Like, I don't know, heal 3, draw a card for 1. Like, yeah. I was already looking to renew. Like, maybe even look at it big. But definitely Reno. Like, definitely Reno, I think.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to Rogue here. I have a feeling that Roffle was a fan of a lot of these Rogue cards that got revealed because Burgle was one of the big archetypes that they pushed this expansion. So let's talk about 2 of those cards. Let's talk about first Double Agent. So this is a 3-mana 3/3 battle cry. If you're holding a card from another class, summon a copy of this. So if you trigger that battle cry, you have just played a 3-mana 6/6. That seems pretty good. Yeah, just seems pretty good. Is it good enough, you guys think?
No. That said, like the most successful versions of like Burgle Rogue tend to be tempo based ones that like just leverage holding things in hand with like Underbelly, the 2-mana Spider Tank with Rush, the like even the hero power from the Bizarre Burglary. So like this fits into that like good style of Burgle Rogue. It's maybe not flashy, but it's like it's good. You could do a Reno Burgle Rogue with some battle cries, and this would definitely fit in there. So it's not the exciting thing that people necessarily want from Burgle Rogue, but it's a thing that like actually makes it a deck that can win games. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've actually always been a big fan of like tempo Burgle Rogue. I've been trying to make that deck work for, I don't know, like 2017. I've been like since Ethereal Peddler came out, I've been a huge fan of trying to push this archetype. I know I haven't really played it very much recently, so people might be like, "What?" But yeah, I've always been a fan of these types of rogue decks. I think Double Agent's a really cool payoff. It's not the big payoff that I'm excited about. The other one being Null, but I really, really like these payoffs directly, and I think that I think we're kind of getting close. Like, not close to tier 1, but I mean, I think it's getting close to being a respectable, playable, competitive wild deck. I sincerely believe that. These really high tempo payoffs, they just make a world of difference. Now we just need decently tempoed Burgle cards. We need more swashbucklers. And then I think we're talking.
Yeah,
there was a time where I took Burgle Odd Rogue with Ethereal Peddlers to single digit legend. So like both of these cards are odd that we're talking about right now. We haven't talked about the Null yet, so maybe there's some potential there.
Yeah, it's true. I was gonna say let's go ahead and start talking about the Null since you guys have alluded to it already. This is a 5-mana 4/5 with Rush. Cost 1 less for each card you've added to your hand from another class. So I know there's a little bit of discussion about how this card interacts with something like Maestra. And so from my understanding, when you mulligan, that does not discount this card, but every card you draw thereafter will. If you are Maestra, so if you go like turn 1 Secret Passage, then this will become like a 0-mana 4/5 or a 1-mana 4/5 off your Secret Passage as early as like turn 1 or turn 2.
Well, that shouldn't be the case though, because wouldn't the secret passage turn you back into a rogue, and then you're drawing
Well, doesn't
rogue
it go
cards?
off first before you get revealed as the rogue? I don't
I
actually know
believe
how
that's how it
Maestro
works.
works.
Yeah, I think it will discount off a passage specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very complicated interaction with Maestra that I am not the most well versed in because I don't play Maestra. I don't even know if I own the card, so we'll see when the expansion comes out if I need to craft that as well. But basically, this is we were talking about one of those high tempo payoff cards for Brogo Rogue, and I know you guys have already talked really highly on this, so I kind of want to bring up the idea. I was doing a little bit of theory crafting of Burgle Rogue, of just shoving this in like an Octobot field context style of deck with stuff like Wand Thieves, Shadow Steps, Swashbucklers, and cards like that, and just using that really, really powerful existing draw engine as a way to fuel stuff like your Vendettas, your Underbelly Anglers, your Double Agents, your Wildpaw Gnolls, and using that as kind of your payoffs. Because even just like Shadow Stepping a Double Agent seems really good, right? With stuff like in conjunction with Field Contact. I think it'll be maybe worse than the existing Edwin Rogue, but when you're playing a Burgle deck, like I think that's maybe the best that we're seeing and talking about because first of all, we're not running tests, we're running good cards. No offense to all of you test lovers out there. But yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for Burgle Rogue. Burgle Rogue. Like you mentioned, I just don't know if like right now your one drops are Swashbuckler, Wand Thief, and that's kind of it for like enabling like a turn 2 double agent, which kind of is a little bit iffy.
Yeah, that's my hesitation with the field contact in particular. Like I think you're onto something with the Octobot, just like getting those high tempo plays. But I don't know, since you're already adding cards to your hand with the Burgle effects. I don't know that you necessarily want a field contact to draw cards when you maybe don't have the battle cries and combo cards to support that. But I think there is something there in just like a straight tempo rather than getting away from like that miracle draw game plan and just going in on like the Octobot. And like I played an Edwin Rogue that recently that was more tempo based, didn't have field contacts, but still used the Octobots to leverage high tempo plays. And I think you could do something very similar with the Burgle effects.
All right. And speaking of tests, let's talk about slightly better, but in my opinion, still bad tests. Let's talk about Contraband Stash. So the 5 mana spell, replay 5 cards from other classes you have played this game. So yeah, I mean, it's a test effect, but it costs 5 mana instead of 8. I mean, do you guys agree with me that it's still probably not nearly good enough?
Yeah. But I mean, you can prep it, but like the problem is like getting the cards from a different class played ahead of this, because like Double Agent, Wildpaw, Null, those benefit from just having those in hand, which is a big difference between having them in hand and playing them, because like sometimes you just oof and generate very expensive cards that you don't get a chance to ever play. And so like by turn 5 you do not have 5 cards in this pool. Also critical to this is that like the 5 cards, just like tests, they're not going to include the battle cry, so you can't really even get full value from them necessarily. It's a fun card. I would agree that it's probably better than a test, just because even by tests, by turn 8, it's not that common that you've played 5 cards from another class. So like, if you're going to do that, you would rather pay 3 mana less and still have like more to do that turn. And the 6/6 body isn't terribly relevant unless you're shadow stepping it.
I'm gonna put a lot of these Burgle Rogue cards in the same pile where Happy Ghoul used to live. These are like those cards that I think have a higher, like have a greater than normal upside. Like a greater than normal chance of being really good someday. I really do believe in a lot of these Burgle package, including the Contraband. And so I'm just going to keep an eye out, moving forward in future sets, because these are really, really good payoffs. It's just a matter of printing a little bit more mana cheating to actually play, actually play the burgled cards, and just a little bit more in terms of efficient burgle cards themselves, whether it's like a Swashbuckler or One Thief type effect. So yeah, I'm happy with this set, happy with the support, and I'm going to keep an eye out in the future.
All right. I think that's more than Rogue could have asked for when we saw Burgle as like the major theme here. All right, now let's move into our main talking point here. Let's talk about Shaman and the absolute insane set of cards that it seems to have gotten this expansion. So we've already talked about Brucon and Baron Glacier. So let's kind of talk about the one that everybody's talking about. Let's talk about Windchill, and let's go ahead and combine it with Sleepbreaker because they are basically the same cards. So Sleepbreaker is a 2-mana 3/2 elemental with the battle cry, add a Windchill to your hand. And Windchill, this is a 1-mana card that you can actually run in your decks as well. This is not specifically off of Sleepbreaker. This is a 1-mana frost spell that says freeze a minion, draw a card. So yeah, I don't know if it needs to be said, but I think we do need to say it. Windchill is an absolute busted card. Okay, very very good card. Even if you want to, even when you're not abusing it with stuff like Zentimo or Note Taker and stuff like that, it's still busted. And Sleepbreaker gives you more of those, and you can copy those battle cries and do it even more times. So yeah, Sleepbreaker, Windchill. Corbett was just kind of saying 5 stars out of 5, right? The cards just they're really 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 good. I think they're going to go in every slower Shaman deck, right? We're talking about Galakron Shaman, Shudderwalk Shamans, whole bunch of Reno Shamans. I mean, it probably is going in your Frog Shamans. It's probably going in your Big Shamans. Like, you have to have a very, very good reason to not want to run Windchill. The card is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and like one of the downsides of Windchill is like its interaction with Primal Dungeoneer. In that, like, it's a frost spell, you don't get to draw 2 off of it. But like then Sleepbreaker comes in and it's just like, hey, I'm good with Primal Dungeoneer, so so you can run Windchill in your deck without running Windchill. Like if Frost or Free Shaman is an archetype, you can thank Sleepbreaker and Windchill for that it being coming into existence. I think that it got a lot of support this expansion. We've been, the community's been calling for it for a while. Well, like, we want to make Marabi viable, and it's not going to happen still, but like Free Shaman will be at the very least. So these are the cards that will probably do it if that is the case, and maybe to a lesser extent like Snowfall Guardian and some of the other supporting like our cards. Like, I mean, there's actual support for Free Shaman. I didn't think we were going to see that day. I thought they abandoned it.
Yeah, the really neat thing about this effect, this card specifically, is that it's not just powerful like both these cards. They're not just strong, but they really elevate a lot of other cards that were powerful but inconsistent. So whether it's Zentimo, right? Like Zentimo with the Invoke is super super busted, but if you didn't have the Invoke, then it always felt very awkward in Galakron Shaman, and it was just something that you couldn't realistically build around. It's also the same with like Note Taker in that same deck, right? Like Note Taker really good to double up with the Invokes, but it didn't feel great. Now you just like, we just play it plus 4 cards that work really well with Zentimo with Note Taker. So it really elevates everything else and just is a beautiful synergy for the entire deck, apart from this being strong. So yeah, Shaman, I mean, I could just be holding up this like 5-star hand as we just go through the many Shaman cards. And then when we get to set number 2, aka the neutrals for Shaman, that'll be more like 5-star cards. I really, really love this set for Shaman. I think it's going to be a very similar thing with Even Warlock, where Even Warlock suddenly picked up like 12 cards in the last expansion. I think this is Shaman. Except instead of winning one deck, it's like whatever 6 Shaman decks that you feel like making that day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in the span of Forge and the Barons mini set and then this expansion, like, the weakness for Shaman has always just been it had really crappy card draw. Like, it had really, really powerful cards and synergies. You just, like, never got to consistently do it because you never had card draw in Shaman. And then we got Primal Dungeoneer, and now we got Windchill and Sleepbreaker, and Jesus, like, now we're seeing all of this energy come together, and I'm really excited for Shaman. Like, I know you said this multiple times on your stream, but I think Shaman has a very realistic chance to be like the best control class in the format right now, with stuff like Windchill, with Shudderwalk, with Galakron, with Primal Dungeoneer, and this like core of like 15 to 20 really, really, really good cards, and then you can kind of shove whatever win condition you want, similar to what we're seeing in Druid. A little bit more flexibility, obviously, in Shaman than we have in Druid, but yeah, these cards just seem really, really nuts, and I'm really excited for all of them.
I mean,
yeah, I expect Shaman to have a tier 1 deck. That's my expectation.
Yeah, I'd argue that like Shaman maybe already has the best showing as a control deck right now, if you like consider a Galakron slower build like as control-y as it gets right now. Shadowwalk decks do have some potential when it got the bird in the mini set. Like that really made a pretty big difference. I think maybe underrated difference compared to like we were pretty high on Primal Dungeoneer, but like the bird does a lot, and I think that the set is going to add to that and give it a more like traditional style of control in freezing the opponent's minions. I'm personally already having a hard time not playing Shaman just because like there's so many things that I want to do with the class, and then this expansion is coming out and I'm just like I want to play more Shaman.
It's gonna be Shaman Stone over here in Wild. Fingers crossed. I know I hate phrases like this, so I hate that I'm saying it, but fingers crossed that it's not Omega busted in Standard, so that it gets nerfed and we have to wait a year and a half for it to rotate to get unnerfed. Fingers crossed. Obviously looking way ahead in the future that I can't even see. So that's how excited I am for Windchill. But let's talk about another frost spell here. Let's talk about Frostbite. The 2-mana frost spell, deal 3 damage. So it's the next iteration in that cycle of 2 mana, deal 3. However, if you honorable kill with this card, so if you deal exact lethal, your opponent's next spell cost 2 more. So it's a tax effect. This lasts for multiple turns, right? Until they cast a spell. With stuff like Zentimo, they will stack. So your opponent's next spell will cost 6 more potentially if you get the Omega High Roll. I don't know how you're doing that against decks that really care about spells, but that's a different story. But yeah, how you guys feeling about Frostbite?
I think it's a good quality card. I think that last point that you hit on a little bit is maybe the concerning point is that like classes that cast spells right now don't have anything that you could like hit with the honorable kill, right? Like if you look at Odd Hunter, what are you getting off of this? That's the deck you wanted on. If you look at maybe it has a chance against the minion Ignite Mage because they like drop some of those minion fetch spells, but even then those don't quite have the stat line that you're looking at when we talked last week about Primal Dungeoneer being cut. Or not Primal, but the Frostweave Dungeoneer being cut as one of the worst cards in that deck. So like what is this hitting? I really like the card though. It's such a cool effect. It's just like what when is it going to do something good and against what deck is I guess my my hesitation with it.
Yeah, I ended up just cutting it from a lot of my theory crafts straight up because of those same issues that Roffle was talking about. Just it needs an honorable kill against spell decks, and the spell decks don't play minions, and so it's very awkward. But yeah, maybe it'll make the cut. But I think there are just better things the Shaman is probably going to have access to, and I think we want frost spells, as a lot of payoffs. But I think that you can probably do enough with the other frost spells, and you can recycle them with Note Taker and things like that. I think Shaman will be fine. So yeah, decent card. Just think it's a little bit awkward in Wild specifically with how all in on spells and stuff some of the decks are right now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Honorable Kill is very much for all of the cards that we've been talking about with Honorable Kill, it's very much a wait and see until the actual expansion drops before we can evaluate the power level of these cards, because like we talked about Siphon Mana the last time we talked about cards, and we talked about the Hunter's Secret card, who you can't really tell until the meta actually kind of settles a little bit to see whether these cards are going to be good enough. I mean, just even like 2 mana deal 3 on its baseline, like, is a Dark Bomb good enough in Shaman?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I guess our card quality has gotten significantly higher very, very quickly, so maybe not, but
Shaman's very competitive, Meowth. Shaman has a lot of cards, like a lot of fighting over these 30 cards. Like it's super tight if you try and build a Shaman deck now.
Yeah, it's gotten some good cards lately. That's what we've been talking about. So it's like, yeah, it's a good card, but like, where does it fit? And I think that what you mentioned is really important for like the honorable kill kind of depends on the other decks in the metagame, because like the different breakpoints for and stat lines vary from metagame to metagame. Like at certain points right now, 2 is an important breakpoint for Pirate Warrior for their early game removal, as well as 3 for their like captains and that kind of thing. But like this card in particular, if you're honorable killing a captain against Pirate Warrior, who cares? Like they don't run spells that really matter all that much. So it's like again, where does this fit, or where does it find a way to get value, I guess, is the concern. So I don't know that you're happy playing just a Dark Bomb in your deck necessarily. You have enough removal with just Shaman cards.
Yep. All right, speaking of cards that I'm not really sure where they're going to fit, but I'm excited for, let's talk about Cheaty's Snowballed. So the 3-mana 3/4. After an enemy is frozen, deal 3 damage to it. So I'm pretty high on this card because it makes your invokes and wind chills 1-mana deal 3s while you draw and get a bonus effect. It's also super relevant for like when you copy a bunch of wind chills, then if you send them to your opponent's face, you can use this as finishing damage with your Cheaty Snowballed. Also, like if you summon a bunch of 3/4 elementals off your Barren Glacier, then they all of a sudden deal 6 damage if they hit face or hit anything, which is kind of very intriguing to me. I don't know if it's an effect that the Shaman decks want, but it's a pretty interesting option and definitely something I'm going to be trying out. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, we should definitely clarify the interaction with multiple freeze effects hitting face. I believe it's been confirmed that they will all deal the extra 3 damage, like if you have a whole bunch of freeze on target. So that kind of changes the equation a lot. If you are summoning the Glacier, Bear, all those Frost elementals and stuff, makes it kind of Bloodlust sort of stick, which, pretty flexible.
Yeah, I think with that in mind, it certainly pairs pretty well with Barren Glacier. My concern is that maybe it's a little too cute. It's a good finisher, but like doesn't do all that much in the mid game. So I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think it maybe does something that the deck doesn't necessarily need at that point. Like I don't think it's necessarily lacking a finisher if you're planning to run Shudderwalk in that deck.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. Like I'm not super high on this card. I just think it's okay. Sorry, Meowth, you're on your own on this one.
I mean, I don't think it's like part of the best 30, but like you said, it's dead mid game. I don't think it's that dead, right? It makes your wind chills and your invocations and all that stuff, which you're ideally doubling up on with sleep breakers and parrots and stuff like that. It makes them 1-mana deal 3s, which is kind of nuts, right? Especially if you get the upside of drawing a card or invoking your Galakron. And if you're not playing a Reno Galakron Shell, like that damage is relevant. It's very relevant.
So maybe this is just my bias in Hearthstone, but like I feel like a lot of times things with these types of persistent effects that like look to get cumulative value tend to be overrated, and the reality is that they just don't have enough immediate effect on curve, which is a big part of what Hearthstone is about. So if you're like playing this with a wind chill on turn 4, that means that you didn't play a wind chill earlier in the game. It means that you maybe skipped turn 3. Like there are a lot of things that maybe aren't necessary, that are being overlooked, that are happening to put you in that position where you're not developing proactively enough in order to get value off of these things. So like I could be wrong, but traditionally these types of effects tend to be bait.
Yeah. It probably is bait, and I've gotten baited by it, and I'm gonna let you guys know week 1 whether the card's good or not. But I'm a fan of it, and I'm gonna be messing around with it. All right, let's move into Warlock here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with saying I'm sure we're missing some broken Warlock card because there's always something that breaks in Warlock from these expansions. But we're gonna really talk about one of them here. Let's talk about Sacrificial Summoner. So this is a 3-mana 3/3 minion with the battle cry: destroy a friendly minion, summon a minion from your deck that cost 1 more. So eggs are kind of the big things, right? Play a Nerubian egg on 2, play this on curve, pop it, get a 3-drop. I don't know what that 3-drop is. Maybe it's another egg. Something else that I have been thinking about is like in a cube lock, you can maybe pop a cube with this and then pull like a Nerubian Unraveler, so it's really hard for them to deal with the resulting board, kind of like a mini Darkest Hour. I mean, I think these kind of effects are always super powerful because you can build your deck in a very specific way to abuse them. I'm not sure we're at the point where we can abuse it super well or consistently right now, but I mean, maybe you guys have some better ideas?
Yeah, no, you were right at the beginning. So what you do is you on curve play a Nerubian egg followed up with a Sacrificial Summoner, and then you get another Sacrificial Summoner from your deck. It's perfect. I know a lot of people are high on this card, but like I am not seeing it. Like I feel like there are enough ways to break your Death Rattle minions in Warlock already that are not being played that cost less mana than this. That like yes, pulling something from your deck is pretty sweet, but like the chaining of the mana is the part that maybe I'm missing. Like if you hit a Void Caller, you pull a cube and that feels bad. You pull a Loatheb and that feels bad. Obviously, you could pull a Doomguard and that would feel great, but like, are we going back to Doomguards in Cube Lock? And is it even Cube Lock if you're not running cubes to ensure that you get the Doomguard? So it's like there's a lot of awkwardness with this where I don't know. I haven't been able to see the truth that is Sacrificial Summoner. Like I'm not super high on this card. I think once again, I think it's rat catcher levels of bait. That I don't know that this is going to be the card that like makes that archetype go.
Ooh, I really like this card. I think this card's really good. Okay, so there are kind of a few directions I'm thinking of. Meowth kind of touched on a couple of them. The first is, I mean, the first thing is that, you play in a Ruby and Egg, you pop it, you get another 3/3. That's not bad. Like, you spent 3 mana to pop an egg and got 6/6 of stats. We were just talking up Double Agent. What are you guys talking about? Like, that's not really that bad, all things considered. And I think there are specific ways to build the deck, especially with things like Drekthar, which, it's another payoff for that kind of recruit effect. So, for example, you could play maybe Injured Blade Masters, and all of a sudden you hit 2 drops, you hit that. It works really well with Drekthar and sort of an egg or an egg aggro zoo deck where those are sort of your only 3s and you play a relatively small minion pool and I feel like there's something there. I also think that like just in the Void Caller idea, you could just play a pretty aggressive Warlock deck that just played like Void Caller, Doomguard, Corridor Creepers, and an 8 mana demon. So the idea would be that you'd have like 4 targets for the Void Caller, the Doomguards, and the 8 drops. But you could also cheat out the 8 drops or Doomguard by popping your Void Caller, by popping your Corridor Creeper. And I just think when cards have this much blatant potential for mana cheating, I'm just never gonna like say no, Like I just think that you don't need to cheat out a Doomguard for 5 mana. By popping a Void Caller, even if you get something like a cube, it's still a ridiculous amount of tempo for three total cost. And so yeah, I think this is ripe for abuse. I think that this card is potentially the broken Warlock card that you were looking for. I think it's right in front of us, and so I'm very, very excited to see what this can do. I think there's a lot of different directions, and mana cheat equal good.
Okay. I think you maybe sold me a little bit on this. I like, yeah. So I'm not as high on the aggressive Warlock strategy just because I've tried that a lot recently, and it just other than Cute Lock, it just like does not feel good. Because like minion combat was what Zoo excelled at, and that's like not a thing right now. I could definitely see it with the Corridor Creeper into 8 drops with a Plague of Flames in your deck and a lot of 1 mana minions in the early game. That I could definitely see being a thing, and maybe having some potential. So yeah, I'm into it. I'm sold.
All right, time will tell. We'll come back to this specific moment in 2
This deck of chaos.
This is our deck of chaos.
Ruffle, I'm gonna drag you down with me. All right, you're gonna.
Whoa! I haven't taken a side here yet. I don't know. I'm gonna refuse to take a side just because of that. I'll be the mediator come 2 months and laugh with the other one as we laugh at the third. All right, let's move into Warrior here. So Warrior, I want to specifically talk about 2 cards here. Let's first off talk about Glory Chaser. This is a 3 mana 4/3. After you play a taunt minion, draw a card. So this is field contact for Warrior, except taunt minions instead of combos of battle cries. I mean, field contact's a busted card, and so that makes me a little bit high on Glory Chaser. Maybe I'm a little bit too high on this because most of my taunt warriors nowadays are like really low to the ground, try to turbo out the quest, combine them with stuff like Into the Fray and bolsters. And so, I mean, it also has some pretty obvious synergy with the next card that we're going to talk about. I'll go ahead and say that to the front. So this is a 2 mana spell. Your minions cost 2 less this turn, but not less than 1. But yeah, so Glory Chaser, let's focus on that first. Kind of taunt contact. What can we abuse in Warrior with this, maybe outside of just that Taunt Warrior, which I think it's a pretty solid inclusion in?
Just like you don't even need the quest for Taunt Warrior to be a thing. I think that this is something that I've learned because of conditioning Into the Fray or Megadillo. Like you don't need to win with the hero power necessarily, so you could just run like a low cost, almost miracle-esque Taunt Warrior and probably be okay. I think maybe since you're going to be like holding minions in that deck anyway, maybe it's just worth running the quest. But like it's definitely viable without the quest. And I think Glory Chaser maybe makes you want to lean towards a lower curve version of that, which, like you said, you're already kind of doing anyway, just because that's you get value off of your hand buff cards, and then things like Target Dummy are pretty disgusting with this. You can protect it because of the nature of taunt. Like it can be difficult to get to with again just minion combat. As mentioned before, my concern is just that like the prevalence of minion combat is not super high right now. So I think it's a cool card. One of the things that makes field contact is the addition of Octobot, though. So the lack of Octobot, like, yes, we have the 2 to the front, which is coming up. 2 to the front has a very specific qualification that maybe might quite make it an Octobot, is I guess the concern.
Yeah, I was going to make the exact same point about Octo. I really like pushing that sort of direction for Handbuff Warrior. Like I've tried to Theorycraft before, and I've usually just cut the quest entirely. And yeah, like cards like Target Dummy, like the Elemental. What am I thinking of? The Divine Shield. Wax Elemental. Yeah, like things like that tend to work really well with the handbuff mechanics and stuff. But 1 is not 0, and I think that's the big thing that's going to hold this card back.
All right, let's transition that into to the front here. So this is the 2 mana spell. Just to repeat, your minions cost 2 less this turn, but cannot cost less than 1. God, of all classes to give this restriction to, like, why did it have to be Warrior and not Rogue or Mage? Like, it makes me so sad to see this. I don't know what broken thing that they are preventing from happening with this card. Maybe something like they don't want another Patron Warrior situation.
Okay, here's the hopium though. Yes, it sucks on this card, and that's a bummer. It sets a precedent. So
that's a major hopium there, Roffle.
We have this text of parentheses, but not less than 1. Let's add that to a very, very critical card in Sorcerer's Apprentice and see what happens, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying.
That being said...
I mean, I think the thing that will worried about me out is that you play this and then you vomit out a whole bunch of pirates for, like, cheap. And then, my god, you complete your quest on turn 5. Wouldn't that just be absolutely terrifying?
That would be insane, right? Completing a quest by turn 5? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that, like, if that were the case, some poor streamer would maybe queue into such a deck 60% of their games over the course of nearly 2 hours.
Well, that sounds miserable. Almost as miserable the fact that I can't really abuse this in Patron Warrior. I really want this to be a card when I'm playing, Warsong Commander. But they didn't give us back the original. It does kind of do some cute things with, like, Bloodsworn Mercenary, which is a really nice card, because obviously it works best with 3-cost cards, right? Because that's the cheapest thing that gets the maximum benefit. And you want to play as many of those, because if you play, like, 3 of them, well, great, you just cheated 4 mana, which is pretty cool. But I couldn't really think of, like, the right combo for this. I couldn't find anything that was entirely minion-driven that really made it worthwhile. Just because if you are playing like Bloodsworn Mercenaries and stuff, it's kind of hard to weave in the charge effects and all that kind of thing as well. But I don't know, it's a lot. Like, this goes in that risky skipper idea, like, let's just put this on the back burner, and eventually this will be our turn 6 OTK win condition that Risky Skipper decks have been dying for the past however long Risky Skipper has existed. So yeah, a lot
Hear
of
me out.
potential with this one.
What about ETC? With
I was about to
allows
bring
you
that
to
up.
use
That's one that I thought about, but
Warsong
I think that's the
Commander.
closest one. I think
Right.
that's the closest. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got your Skipper, Warsong, and Bloodsorn, and then maybe throw in something that can get Wind Fury, so you get additional attacks on that. And
Crab Rider on nerf one day.
I mean, honestly, like, you don't need an unnerf because it has the Battle Cry of Rush, so it's a 1-mana double swing with Rush. You can
it's not the same.
you don't even necessarily need the Brooms or Warsong Commanders in that case, and you just like create a bunch of copies of ETC and swing in.
Yeah.
All right. What if you play 2 of these things with a Faceless Manipulator and like other insane 5-drops, and you just like board flood people with Lothab?
That sounds gross, which is like what we want to do in Wild. So I'm intrigued. I mean,
I mean,
I don't know.
Risky
I'm
Skipper
making
decks
this, I'm
don't
making
really,
this up on the fly. I'm making this up. Yeah.
Risky Skipper
It's
decks
slow.
don't really feel like they have any trouble drawing cards, though, right? So I feel like you can draw through your entire deck. So you can maybe consistently rely on having 2 copies of this card. It's just, is there like an actual win con that happens before turn 10? No.
Absolutely not.
I guess it has to be ETC Warrior then, right? It's the closest thing we come with this.
ETC is the best thing that we can do right now with it, I think, and I think it's close.
Yeah, one day. Like I said, I'm very concerned as to like why this card having that restriction out of all classes makes me a little bit sad. But
unironically, I think it is just to prevent what's happening in Wild with Pirate Warriors from happening in Standard. I think Corb hit it. Like, it's just the trying to avoid the thing that's happening.
Which is fair. It just makes me sad. Yeah. All right. Let's hop into Shaman 2.0 or the neutrals. So first things first, let's talk about Frostwolf Warmaster. I love how I use that as my transition, and the first card we're going to talk about is probably something that's not going to see play in Shaman. But Frostwolf Warmaster, this is a 4-mana 3/3 that costs 1 less for each card you've played this turn. So I think the big thing that I'm looking at is Cute Lock with this as a way to play like a 1-mana or a 0-mana 3/3. I don't think you want this in something like APM Mage or Ignite Mage, but I think Cute Lock is very, very happy to see Warmaster. I don't know if there's other decks like that, though, that might also want to abuse this.
Yeah, Tempo or Miracle Rogues probably would be okay with it as well. Double Edwin or single Edwin, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. All right, so I did miss that. But yeah, I mean 0-mana 3/3s. Good cards, right? So the next card I want to talk about is Herald of Locholar. 4-mana 3/5 Battlecry, draw a Frost spells. So this is another one of those Shaman 2.0s, because you have all these really, really good Frost spells all of a sudden again in Shaman. So Herald of Locholar, I mean, I guess my question always comes, if you're not running a Reno deck, do you want this in addition to the Dungeoneers? I think in a Reno deck it's like Dungeoneer copy number 2, but in a non-Reno shell in Shaman, do you want both Herald and Primal Dungeoneer?
I mean, is it better than Dungeoneer if you're just running Frost spells though? Like there are a lot of times when you're running Dungeoneer where you're just like, God, I hope this is an Ice Fishing, and this can maybe do that. Obviously, you're running Wind Shells. And honestly, maybe you're not running Wind Chills naturally if you just have the Sleep Breaker. So this could be a way to fetch your Ice Fishing as well as your Invoke options. So it's definitely a card to keep an eye on. I don't know, but I want to try it, and I'm probably in just like a straight free Shaman. I'm probably just running this over Primal Dungeoneer to begin with.
I think it's better in like I think you play it in Reno Galakron Shaman. But I think in the normal like Galakron Shaman, I think Primal's probably better. And I just like slot in Kazakus. Again, the thinking for me is that like I don't think that the 2-mana Dark Bomb card is necessarily good enough, and so at that point I'm kind of looking at like 4 cards that tutor spells, and then there's like 5 spells that I'm playing. But yeah, either way, like 4-mana 3/5, draw a card. pretty decent. The cards that you draw are absolutely premium. I still don't think it's probably quite good enough in Galakron, but it will be a good Reno card. So
Yeah. So let's circle back to some low cost cards here. Let's talk about Iron Deep Trog. This is a 1-mana 1/2. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a copy of this. So this is not whenever. Okay, this is not Trogzor, but after the spell resolves, if Trog is still alive, you get to summon another 1/2. I was looking at this card in something like Odd Demon Hunter, because Odd Demon Hunter kind of wants to run those Divine Shield Dog Merchants and Beaming Sidekicks, which work really, really nicely with Iron Deep Trog, make it really, really hard to kill. I don't know if you want this in Aggro Druid, because Embiggen is a card there, but Aggro Druid we kind of talked about already getting some new tools, so I don't know if it has space for that. I would also maybe entertain the idea in something like a hand buff Paladin and or Libram Paladin, because stats are good, and then in Libram Paladin you have the absolute dreamland scenario of copying your Librams. I don't know how consistent that is, but those are kind of all the options that I was looking at with Iron Deep Trog. I am still not convinced with it because of that pesky text that says after an opponent casts a spell. It doesn't really do anything against Hunter Hero Power, right?
was it? What do you mean? It's so good on turn 1 is the thing.
There are a lot of 1-drops that are really, really good on turn 1 going first.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about how busted they are, so that's why I wasn't completely sold.
Is there a 1-drop though that against like a quest hunter does this level of damage? Because there's only one card that they can strictly answer this with, which is Arcane Shot. And if they're Arcane Shotting this, then they're not actually progressing their quest with it. Against like all the quest decks, right? Even like Pirate Warrior. If you just play this out first against Pirate Warrior, they're in such an awkward, terrible situation. I think in a Paladin deck as well, if you have the ability to play this on 1, and they can't answer it, then like it's so annoying with things like Noble Mount, which you might already be looking at with the new 3-mana like draw a spell, make its cost 0. I don't know. Like I hear what you're saying, but I remember thinking the same thing with Peasant. Like I remember with Peasant, I was assuming the Peasant wasn't going to be good enough because it's like, oh, it's a card that's only good on turn 1, and that's never been good. But the fact that it does kind of solo Odd Hunter by itself,
it has potential index even when played not on turn 1, just like with a in a hand buff shell, if you draw it off a Crystology and then buff it, like that can get scary. Embiggen can make it a little bit scarier, and then you buff it with like Mark of the Lotus. I think you're right, Meowth, in that like the concern is where do you find room for it with some of the new cards. But I don't know. I think that there's some potential in it.
I would listen.
Meowth's laughing, I think, because he was very hyped about this card, and I talked him off the ledge, and now I'm hyped about this card a little bit.
I am still not sold on Iron Deep Trog. You guys still haven't.
Wow, I did such a good job talking you down.
Yeah.
That I can't bring you back up.
Nope. You talked me so far away from the ledge that I don't know where this analogy is going, but I still not sold. Maybe we'll see if it's actually as good against Odd Hunter as you guys think it's going to be. Then I think it probably has a role in the metagame. But
I mean, what does Odd Hunter do?
They have 2 Overwhelms, 2 Arcane Shots. Like, it's not like this is impossible to answer. They also have 2 Power Shots.
Like, I don't know. It's still just it's like a 1-drop that denies quest on 1 and denies a part of that quest completer.
If you're going first and you have it in your hand.
Yeah.
Which is like, when that does happen, it's insanely good. How consistently is that happening that it's worth the slot in your deck is the question. And I mean, it's impossible to tell until we actually get to play with it. But I'm going to try it out. I have it in my like hand buff Paladin Theorycraft. I'll obviously try it out in Librams because I'll be playing a lot of that deck as well. So we'll see.
I think that where it has most potential is hand buff, if it's going to be anywhere. But like, I guess in the matchup where it matters, which is Quest Hunter, maybe that's going to end up being too slow is the concern. So maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it's a wait and see card for sure.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that big of a deal against Pirate Warrior because I think Pirate Warriors are okay not playing their quest on 1 because they just play like a Skyraider or a First Mate on turn 1 or a Deckhand on turn 1 and they just kill your Trog and you play a 1-mana 1/2. So, yeah.
It slows down the Rukara in that case, which, in some board-based matchups, that matters because, like, you can lose your board lead pretty quickly as a result of that.
Yeah. Maybe. Corbett, you did too good of a job talking me away from this card. We were talking about Handbook Paladin, so let's talk about a card that might be really, really good in Handbook Paladin. Let's talk about Ram Commander. Is that 2 mana, 2/2, Battle Cry, add 2 1/1 Rams with Rush into your hand. So those 2 1/1s with Rush get hand buffed. I had a little bit of trouble fitting this card into my hand buff Theorycrafts, but I was also including Trogs in my Theorycrafts, so maybe we just cut the Trogs once we accept that it's bad and run Ram Commanders instead. How you guys feeling about this guy?
I love this card in Hand Buff Paladin. Like, it's basically first day of school, but like developing a body, right? So, yeah, but that
Good
card
card.
is bonkers. Yeah,
Strong.
Yep. Yep. All right. Nothing much else to say. Good card. All right. Let's talk about a legendary here. Let's talk about Korak, the 4 mana 3/5 legendary minion, Death Rattle. If this wasn't honorably killed, resummon Korak. So I do want to mention, I think before we even start this discussion, in case it's not clear, unless you were abusing this Death Rattle, this card is not good enough for Wild. I will say though that it is pretty easy to abuse this Death Rattle in our format. I know I was theorycrafting a little bit with Corbett with some Umbra shenanigans that you can do with Korak in both Rogue and Warlock, right? Are the two main things, kind of like a Cruel Dynamancer scenario, where you can like play this and then you like play an Umbra afterwards and trade it and kill off your Korak and summon a whole board of Koraks that's kind of impossible for your opponent to kill. I think if you abuse it, it has the potential to be pretty powerful, but if you're not abusing it, I don't think it's that good.
yeah, no, it's a cool card, but 3 repetitive damage like isn't necessarily the thing that's going to break Wild, right?
Yeah.
So unless you're doing one of those cheesy things with it, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure does the Umber effect work like that. I have to have a good look at the wording again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter either way. Like you want to be abusing this and stuff, and it's a nice like deck building card. Like I'm sure this would be a long term one, where people keep trying to break it in different ways, which is always fun. It's always a big success when they kind of make that kind of card, I think.
Yep. Cool. All right, and then the last neutral we're going to talk about is another Shaman card here. Let's talk about Snowblind Harpy. 3 mana 3/4 Battle Cry. If you are holding a frost spell, gain 5 armor. God, this works so nicely with stuff like parrots and shutterwalks, and God, this should just have been a Shaman card, don't you guys think?
Sure. I mean, it effectively is like, but like I think, yeah, as you mentioned, it works really well with Shutterwalk, especially since you're running Sleepbreaker in that deck anyway. So like, even if you don't have a frost spell at the time of playing Shutterwalk, you could generate one with Sleepbreaker into Windchill if you're skilled enough to get that in the right order. So seems like a good card. It's also just kind of like we saw how good Armor Vendor was in a lot of slow control decks, and that's where maybe we're aiming for with like a free Shaman, and this does that. So it's like it's armor on a body.
I'll save my thoughts on this for the most powerful. That's a
Okay.
hint.
All right. So that's going to wrap it up for kind of our card review section over the span of 2 podcasts. So if there's any cards that we didn't talk about, whether it was our first card review episode or this one, let us know down in the comments if you think we're missing the Corridor Creeper of the set. But yeah, I mean, Corbett kind of already alluded to it. So we're going to wrap up the last little part here of our show with something that we normally do. We always make our predictions so that we can come back in 2 months and laugh at how dumb we were or how smart 200 IQ we were. So let's go ahead and start off with our top 5 most powerful cards. And Corbett, you kind of already left us on the edge there with Snowblind Harpy. So do you want to talk about your top 5 most powerful cards first?
Sure. 5, I have Shivering Sork. I actually edited my show notes as we were talking about it in Secret Mage, and I swapped it in because, I was so hyped about it in that deck. But yeah, we already talked about the 1 mana 2/2, reduce the cost of your highest cost spell. Number 4, I had Guff. We talked about Guff last episode. Just the potential for it in Alignment Druid, the fact that it does give you that full mana crystal. makes it kind of really bonkers after the alignment, where you just cycle and there's no downside there. But it's also just really good in 5, and I think this fits into established decks right now. Number 3 is the Harpy that we just hinted at, or we were just talking about. Sorry. Yeah, I really really like this card. I think this card is super 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 strong in Shaman. 3 mana 3/4 gain, 5 armor. Again, Shaman like has so much room for abuse with battle cries, and I also think that the armor gain is super crucial against things like Odd Hunter. I actually think with the power of like Vendor and Harpy, it's going to give a lot of breathing room for those slower Shaman archetypes to make those actually like not comfortable but manageable matchups. And it's even good against like aggro, right? Just slap down a 3 mana 3/4 is not bad, and gain 5 armor is great. So I really like this card. Number 2, Sleep Breaker, Wind Chill. Yep, busted. We've talked about them a lot. And number 1, Drekthar. I think Drekthar is going to get nerfed, which is going to be funny because it was one of the freebies, but we've done this before with Kael'thas. Like, Vargoth was also borderline nerf-worthy. And yeah, I really think Drekthar is going to break things, continue breaking things. It's just going to get better and better, and it'll be gone by the time the event is over.
Wow, bold claim. I thought you were going to say by the time the expansion rolls around, then I was like, damn. that would be something. All right, Roffle, you want to go with your top 5 most powerful there?
Sure. To start things off, I've got Siphon Mana. I think we talked about this last time. If the breakpoints are right, this is a pretty nutty card in APM Mage decks. Has potential with Mizaki as well, just to further cheap mana without Sorcerer's Apprentice. Like we talked about Drekthar. One of the broken things Drekthar does is Sorcerer's Apprentice decks, so has some potential there. Next, I have Wildheart Guff. We talked about this a lot last time. I think it's just like if it's into existing archetypes too well not to be an inclusion. The mana cap isn't the thing that it does. It's like everything else that this card does, which is like it has a lot of text for a small number, and that's kind of the indication of a good card, right? I feel like it's bound to do well in, again, existing archetypes that are already doing well. Third, I have Urzul Giant, and this is one that I think Corb turned me around on, and also the fact that it had the demon tag really turned me around on this, because then you have some potential with Philosophy. I think an odd token Demon Hunter could maybe be the thing that you want to do with Demon Hunter, or odd Demon Hunter coming up. And if that's the case, this will be the card that is the reason why. Second, I have Drekthar. And as somebody who reluctantly chose Vandar Stormpike, I've been watching people blast me with Drekthars and have great fun with this card. I love the event. I love like the concept behind it. What I didn't like is the FOMO that it created. And I knew going in, I looked at Drekthar and I'm like, yeah, that card's busted. Better pick the weak one. And I had some regrets because I didn't get to play Drekthar deck for 2 weeks now. And so, that was my choice. But watching people hit me with them hasn't felt great, knowing that I can't reciprocate that necessarily. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this card gets nerfed as well. It's 4 mana neutral call to arms. That's gross. The call to arms is one of my least favorite cards of all time. It should have never been printed at 4 mana. It never should have been reverted to 4 mana. And then they just made a neutral version of it. So sweet. My top card is actually Sleepbreaker. I think it edges out Wind Chill by a marginal amount, just because it creates a body and generates a card that is a high quality card, a consistently high quality card from outside of your deck, that then cycles a card in, and so I think if you had to choose between Sleepbreaker and Wind Chill, you would just run the Sleepbreaker. And if there's ever a situation where you're looking to cut a card, I think Wind Chill has the potential to be cut, where Sleepbreaker is just a card that you're running and has the potential to be run in a lot of different archetypes too. It could just be run in a mid-rangey elemental shaman, and you're fine with that.
Don't make me choose between the two. Don't make me do
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that. I cheated. I put both.
Yeah, I put both as well here. I mean, spoiler alert. So I mean, you'll see a lot of similar cards here. I guess in my top 5 most powerful. For me, number 5, I actually had Ice Trap. And I do this because I have always been a believer in Even Hunter, and I will continue to champion that deck. That it's completely, utterly underplayed, and I think Ice Trap is a very good card in that deck. And I also think people are sleeping on that Drekthar Secret Hunter that we talked a little bit about earlier on, with pulling Cloaked Huntress and Injured Blade Masters. Like, I think that card that deck is really, really good, and I think Ice Trap is a very, very good card in that deck. So I'm pretty hyped to see. Like, we saw Omayog get printed, and we were like, wow, this card is, like, freaking insane. And I think Corb and I had it as, like, our number 1 card from that set. And I think Ice Trap, not as powerful as Omayog, but I think it's a very, very powerful card, nonetheless. Number 4, I had Stonehearth Vindicator. This one is directly as a result of, like, if we had done this last week, I would not have had Vindicator in my top 5, but the more I theorycraft Paladin decks, the more I'm just like, damn, Vindicator seems really good in all of these decks. And this might be my Libram Paladin bias showing as well here, but I think it's pretty insane in that deck. So I'm excited to play some Vindicator. And then I'll go really, really quickly here with the last 3 because we've talked about them all. I have Guff as my number 3. I know when we talked about this 2 weeks ago, I was like super skeptical on it. I have since changed my mind and like been talked into like believing that this card's just pretty good. Number 2, I have Drekthar. I hate Drekthar. It'll get nerfed. If Drekthar gets nerfed, then my Ice Trap power level probably goes down because that Secret Hunter probably gets a little bit worse or a lot worse. But yeah, I mean, Drekthar is really, really good. And then Sleepbreaker, Windchill. It's a package of cards. Don't make me choose Roffle. Don't make me do that. But yeah, I think they're both really, really good. We've talked about them to death, so I'm not going to go there. But yeah, that's my top 5 most powerful. All right, and so let's transition that. So this is what we'll come back to. Okay, this is the segment of the show that we come back to in 2 months and judge ourselves. But let's talk about the top 5 most excited, the cards that are the most excited to play, regardless if they are like super high power level or not. So I'll go ahead and start here, just since I keep talking forever and ever. My number 5, I have Sacrificial Summoner. So this is a little bit of like, I love these effects in Magic. Like, I love the pod style effects, and so I really, really like Sacrificial Summoner. Even if it's not going to be broken, I'm excited to do potentially broken things, and then now or in the future. So pretty excited about Sacrificial Summoner. Number 4, I have Korak. I was a big fan of Dynamancer Warlock, and I have theorycrafted a list in Rogue that runs some of the new spells from United and Stormwind as well, the weapon and spell, that I'm ready to play some Korak Rogue. Even if it's not going to be good, it's going to be a lot of fun. Number 3 for me is the whole package of Wildpaw Knoll and Double Agent, the whole Burgle Rogue style of decks, that tempo Burgle Rogue. Number 2, I have To the Front, just because, God, this card's going to be so busted somehow, some way, right? It's got some pretty insane combo potential, and excited to see what I can do with that one. And then last but not least, I have this whole package of Wind Chill, Sleep Breakers, Cheaty Snowball. You can even throw like Baron Glacier in there. This whole free Shaman support package, as long as you don't include Marabi, seems really, really good. And I really enjoy playing Shaman anyways, and so yeah, I'm going to be playing nothing but Shaman probably for the first couple of weeks of this expansion, and I'm not even going to be mad about it.
All right, yeah, after we were talking about not wanting to pick between Sleepbreaker, Windchill, and then we just had the entire Rogue set as your number 1.
True. I can't help myself, man. I can't help myself.
I think we're all like pretty high on Shaman. We were during the Forge and the Barons metagame. It makes sense that we'd return to that. Hopefully, we can see a similar shakeup within the class to make it relevant and compete with some of the other decks, just so that we get a bit more variety. Because I think like slower Shaman decks allow breathing room for other decks to exist. So like, yes, it's powerful. Yes, it's frustrating to get Flurgle Toxed, but like, I'm rooting for that more than I'm rooting for like the questline decks, just because that breathing room is important. It opens up the window that we've been talking about since United and Stormwind came out. So, much like the two of you, I've got a Shaman card in one of my most excited for cards, and it's one that we talked about last time, but not a whole lot, and it's Snowball Fight, which is kind of like a Shaman Frost Nova type card. But what I like about this card is the concept of it, like just like Alterac Valley is this wintry tundra where I don't know, seeing the gnomes throwing snowballs at each other is hilarious to me. I really like the lore of the card, not the Warcraft lore of it, but like where it came from. The designer originally created this as an /R/custom Hearthstone card, and then adapted it for Hearthstone after being hired onto the team. So it's kind of
whoa.
yeah. So it was a pet project that he had, and then like it fit within the concept of the set, as well as, or the theme of the set, as well as just like adjusting the interaction a little bit to be pretty close to what the original concept was. So that was kind of neat to see, and I'm really hopeful that there's like a sweet animation associated with this,
Yeah.
where you actually get to see the snowball pinging from minion to minion. And on top of that, I think it just has the potential to be an okay card in like a free shaman deck. So I'm into it. Fourth is Lightforged Carriel, because the immovable object is very appealing to me. I want to take less damage, and I want to buff some cards in my hand. So this card is very cool. I also, I don't know, conceptually, I like the idea of the immovable object not losing its durability. So it's just repetitive damage, first of all, but then it's like also got this really cool effect. So like I don't know. I love it. That's the only part I want. I just want to equip the immovable object. Just give me that card. I don't even know what the other text does. It apparently is a consecrate. I don't know. Like I don't care about that. Just give me the weapon. Third, I have Zyrella the Devout, because weasels and birds. Like I'm doing every day. In fact, I'm shuffling. So I'm going to do that quite a bit more with Zyrella the Devout. And then eventually, like, actually be able to win games. Like in the past, I had to do dumb things like turn all of my weasels and birds that I shuffled in with Benedictus into dragons with a Lady Prestor, or whatever other nonsense. And it's just much more straightforward now. I just kill them. Second up, I have Seraphine Fleet Runner. This was a last second add to my list, because I forgot about how excited I am for this card, because it's like a neutral, or it's a rogue Renounced Darkness, and like that's everything I want. But it's Renounced Darkness plus Ethereal Peddler. So those are two cards that I like a lot, and I'm into it. I'm just gonna play like a minion heavy rogue deck. I might even pair this with Maestra of the Masquerade, and then like use this to swap my class and see what kind of chaotic happenings I could do. Just run like 28 neutral cards and these two minions, and see what happens. Like I'm into it. That's probably going to be one of my first rogue decks. You guys were talking about the other Burgle stuff. No, I just want this one card. And then finally, Belinda Stonehearth is the mage card that I think I'm most excited for, just because, like I said, if there is a card that enables Big Smell Mage, it's probably this one. And I just want to cast 5 mana puzzle boxes, so give me this card. I also want to cast 5 mana bunkers, or whatever the Iceblood Tower is. Like, yes, like, give me this card. I want to play some Big Spell Mage.
I'm only just realizing the name Belinda Stonehearth. Like, that only just clicked for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of Stonehearths in this set.
I have not noticed, apparently.
Oh, that one I noticed.
Oh. Yeah, I've not been paying attention. Look, I know card effects, I know mana cost. I don't actually learn the names.
You don't need to know their
like,
names.
We're 2 months in, and I figure it out, you know?
Yeah,
2
exactly.
months into an expansion.
If they're relevant cards, you'll eventually memorize them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Magma Tor Alpha. All right, now let's touch on my most exciting cards. Number 5, I had the Wild Paw Null. I've kind of already talked a lot about that. Number 4 was Sack Summoner. Again, gave a good spiel about Sack Summoner and all the things you can do with that. Number 3, Frost Wolf Warmaster. This is kind of my cheating slot, where there's a card that I'm not sure is going to be really good, but I kind of just want to have it on one list. Just like, this is the watch post slot that I used previously. I don't know. 0 mana 3/3 Cute Lock seems kind of strong, and we'll see what exact damage we can do here with this card. Number 2, I had Stormpike Battle Ram. That's the 4-mana 4/3 rush beast in Hunter, where it reduces the cost of your next beast by 2. I love Beast Hunter. Beast Hunter's been one of my favorite archetypes since, like the Buzzard rebirth happened. I love playing that deck, and this is a really, really excellent fit because it activates your Don't Feed the Animals. It's one of the few like cards that you can afford to play that cost more than 3 or more mana. It kind of sets you up really well for explosive turn 5s, whether that's playing out a 0-cost Buzzard or, potentially in the later stages of the game, setting up a cheap Tundra Rhino, which is also very strong. So I really, really like this card in that deck. Very excited to try it. And the last one, Siphon Mana. Mage, spell, mana cheating. I will be playing this card at some point. And a lot of points.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is surprised by your number 1 selection. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think anybody's surprised.
No.
Anybody that knows you, at least. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to come back, and hopefully we are coming back in 2 months and talking about how awesome this set is and how awesome these cards are, and hopefully they make a positive impact, because I don't know about you guys. Didn't love United in Stormwind, but a lot of these cards from this set look really, really cool, and I'm really excited for them, and I'm excited to start playing with them on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that undoubtedly these cards are cool. They're making a really deliberate effort to slow things down. I just hope that it's actually effective in doing so, because it is hard to like outprint fast cards, right? Like you can't. It's very difficult to slow things down by printing slow cards, because like slow cards can't keep pace with proactive fast cards is kind of the concern associated with that. But I think that there are some cards that give me a little bit of hope here, and regardless, I think that part of the frustration that I've been feeling right now with United and Stormwind in particular is just like where we are in the content cycle. So new cards is just going to be a good thing regardless.
Yeah,
Right.
I expect Shaman to dictate a lot, and hopefully, this sort of leads the meta in a way that opens up a lot of diversity. I think the format right now is a lot better than it was like a month or 2 ago in terms of the diversity at the top end. With Roffle's kind of giving me a face. But I think like Glare and like Shadow Priest and Ignite Mage are a little bit more well-rounded or more balanced than where we were with just Odd Hunter, Pirate Warrior, Even Lock. And I'm hoping that the Shaman introduced to the mix, then things can become, even more. And, things like Secret Mage getting a supported 1-drop. Like, maybe that comes back and that might push out things like Ignite Mage a little bit. So, here's hoping, right?
Yeah, I feel like Secret Mage is going to do a lot more. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see, right? I'm excited to play it. Like, it's, from the time of recording, 3 days until we get the expansion. 4 days? 3 days? What is math? What is time? I'm excited to play with them, though, right? I also want to say shoutouts to, while we're talking about this, shoutouts to Dane, who got the opportunity to represent the WoW format in the theory crafting streams, the first time that we've ever seen that happen, which is really awesome. But yeah,
and while they're not necessarily Wild exclusive players, WoW Hobbs and Mark also got to be included in that. So that leaves me pretty hopeful with where the direction that the community team is going with regard to the Wild format. I think that's definitely great to see.
Yep, good shout outs there, and I mean shout outs to the community team in general. Speaking of, it's a good segue. Just a reminder that we are having a couple of giveaways for bundles for this brand new expansion. So if we got you a little bit excited, but you can't afford to pre-order or want to wait on that, make sure you guys enter the giveaway. It's super easy. There's a link to a Google form down in the description, as well as the pinned comments. Make sure you guys check that. It'll take you like 30 seconds to enter, and it'll be good to go. Guys, thanks for sticking with me through another 2-hour card review / prediction episode. These are always super fun, and glad to do it with you guys. And thanks to all of you guys that are out there listening for listening all the way to the end. You guys make sure that you plug yourselves so that people know where to find you guys come expansion day.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Roffle, and Instagram and Twitter at RoffleHS.
And you can find me at Corbettgames on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. I also think we're all giving away bundles as well on our own Twitch and things like that, or our own Twitter. So, make sure you guys go check that as well. Don't just enter with the State of Wild podcast, put your hand into as many bags as you can to try and get one of those bundle codes.
True that. You can also find Corbett on the Play Hearthstone VODs as he's competing in the Australian National Hearthstone Tournament. He's currently in the top 4 as we're recording this. We're wishing him the best of luck. It is standard, but if you want to support Corbett, make sure you guys go watch that.
Very rusty. Yeah.
Hey, man, you're one of the top 4 players in Australia. That's, like, insane. Absolutely.
There's like 12 of us here, right? Small country.
But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our episode. I guess I should sell it myself. You guys can find me Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, at Get Me Out as well. Yeah, appreciate you guys listening all the way to the end. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoy the new expansion. We'll see you guys next week with our kind of first impressions of how Alterac Valley has changed the WoW format. We hope you guys have a good one. We'll see you guys again next week. Later.